Sausage.
Hello, everyone. This is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Paratopic, a game I can't quite explain, which is why I've opted to record this episode scriptless for the first time in years. This is a tricky game to talk about because it is so confusing and mysterious, and I don't quite know what I played. It is a short game. It takes roughly 30 to 45 minutes, give or take. It took me specifically 35 minutes, and I want to say I enjoyed my time. But if I were to try and explain what happened, it would, one, remove the mystery, which is the only reason to play the game, and I think it is worth playing if you are a fan of unique games, unique experience, something different. If you don't want to just play the norm over and over again, it is absolutely worth playing. If you are a fan of David Lynch, it is 100, 1,000, 1,000,000% worth playing. I wouldn't say it reminds me of anything specific, only of Lynchian standards. It seems like a game that would come out of his brain that you would play and then say, that reminds me of David Lynch. The audio design and music are fantastic, especially the parts where you are trailing a river. The music and ambience in those sections in particular are great, and even have a kind of jazzy vibe to them with their improvisational nature, seemingly. There is a lot of jump cutting. It utilizes that quite a bit. If there was any mechanic, any gimmick, anything that stands out the most about the game, it would be the way it will just abruptly end a scene and throw you into a completely different scene. And it likes to linger in scenes that you think to yourself, is the game broken? Am I supposed to do something? Because this is kind of going on longer than expected, especially when you contextualize it in this 30, 40 minute or so experience. But it all works if you are open to its peculiar, weird nature. It also has a very PlayStation 1 era polygonal look to it. A lot of artifacting, which I quite enjoyed. And I'll say that if you are watching the video version of this here episode, I don't think the visuals come across as well in the capture as it did on my fancy schmancy TV. And you may say to yourself, well, it's a game that looks incredibly dated. How good could the visuals be? I like that style quite a bit. It may not be your jazz, to talk about jazz again, but it was very much of my jazz. But it's a game that I'd only want to talk about in specifics with other people who have played it, because, again, the mystery, the confusing nature of it, all of the things that make it worth talking about are only worth talking about with other people who have experienced the same thing or different things. It is a game, given its short nature, that is worth replaying and revisiting. And I'll say too that the jump cut nature, the confusing nature, the lack of information given to you in a prolonged experience, even only 2 hours or so, I think it would have worn out its welcome and gotten exhausting. But in that 30 to 45 minute package, it feels pretty perfect. But it is 100 and 1,000 and 1,000,000% not a game for everyone. You have to be open to not getting any explanation as to what is going on. You have to be someone who likes being dragged along for a weird ride. It's really hard to try and sell it. It's a game that was recommended to me by my good friend Enchi multiple times, and I never got around to it because I just never got around to it. But in my current state, this year in general, but the last few weeks especially, my mental and emotional exhaustion compounded with physical unwillingness. That's not a word, but who cares? You know what? That's confusing, just like the game. You know, we make up our own words. That's how we do it. I'm being very professional right now. If you've played Paratopic, you know what I'm talking about. But in my current state, I needed something short. Something that I could just get out quickly. And I went through How Long to Beat, sort of games by a certain length. This showed up and I thought to myself, I remember that game. I should finally play that. And that's what I did. And I am happy I played it. Will you be happy to play it too? I don't know. This is, again, the best way I can recommend it or not recommend it would be to say, do you like Twin Peaks? Do you like David Lynch? I adore him. I think he's an incredibly interesting filmmaker, creator, artist, super fascinating. And I don't even know if I would say anything he's made is good, but they're not bad. They're him. Except for Dune. Dune's not entirely him. And then he did a Disney movie that's rated G that I have not seen yet, but I just ordered a copy from Australia and I can't wait to see it. But I don't expect it to be very Lynchian, given that it's a Disney rated G movie based on a true story, I think. But if you like David Lynch, if you like Twin Peaks, check out Paratopic. If you don't, if you look at Lynch and stuff like Twin Peaks and you think, what are people smoking who enjoy this? Don't do it. But what I will do now is end the episode that I hope is somewhat informative, enjoyable. I don't know. It went on longer than I was expecting. Anyway, that was do it for this. That was you can watch me on Patreon.com/BXS. You can also find links to everything I do over there on the site that we use for this program at BXS.com. As always, I hope you enjoy that episode. I hope you have the rest of your day. Anyway, Bye.